So there's a newer version of the CX-5 from Mazda out in the streets, and this is it. Freshly facelifted and strategically launched a month and a half after the introduction of the new 6th gen Honda CR-V. Total of 5 variants. You have the 2.2D high, which is one I have over here. It is the second most expensive version of the Mazda CX-5. That kicks off with the 147,000 ringgit 2.0 mid, but then you have also everything up from that, which is a high trim. So you have the 2.0 high, the 2.5 high, the 2.2D high, and also the 2.5 turbo high. And that one, the 2.5T, having all-wheel drive. I think this diesel is the sweet spot in the range, and I'll get into why. So I'm Jim, this is Carlist, and my question is the CX-5 a car that still has got it? You know what I mean? Because this car, in this generation CX-5, has been around for 7 years. So at first glance, this might not look totally new, but you have to look a little bit deeper, a little bit closer to tell how all the little tiny things add up to make a facelifted CX-5. The front grille has been redesigned. The first thing you see is this chunky chrome bit over here has been kind of beefed up for more presence, and then the whole pattern over here to give it more three-dimensionality. And so elsewhere along the bumper, you have less of this gray-colored material and more of an elegant contour over here in body color. Then you have the LED signature DRLs, which, I don't know about you, but reminds me of BMWs. Also, you have these 19-inch wheels, machined alloys, you have two tones, and it goes nicely with this platinum quartz body color.
Overall, it remains a very handsome SUV, and I reckon it does improve on the CX-5's visual punch. But other markets go further. Body-colored cladding in black chrome to match gloss black wheels. Maybe there'll be an Ignite edition coming soon for that.
Inside, again, at a glance, not much different to tell, really. But the big news here is that you get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto paired with a wireless charger, but that is framed within this 8-inch old-style Mazda head unit, okay? 8 inches doesn't sound small, but against this huge, chunky dashboard, it does seem a little bit lost. Operationally, I have no complaints. It does work very well with this rotary knob down here, and it's very smooth, very bright. I just wish you would get the bigger 10.25-inch screen and OS from the Mazda 3. But speaking of the Mazda 3, we do inherit the semi-digital cluster, 7 inches up front over here, works very well. And you also do get, in the facelift, ventilated seats, which in this climate is so invaluable and so awesome, but you only get it in the 2.5 high and up. But the feel factor here is very strong indeed, because this is the Mazda, and the material choices just feel a cut above the rest. Everything from the way I'm sat down here to how all the controls fall to hand. It's definitely driver oriented and something you don't get in other SUVs. And it's not perfect, okay? You have the old style MZD Connect, looks a bit dated on the screen over there without CarPlay. You have black leather with this gray stitching, but elsewhere on the door panel and on the seat you have this also brown stitching, which makes no sense if you have two stitch work contrasting. Also, you have the CR-V offering Bose premium audio, but you can get that with Mazda in the CX-9, which is way more expensive. Why not offer the CX-5, at least in the 2.5T, the highest end one, with also Bose sound systems? Rear seat space is fair, but I think the CR-V kind of edges this out because Honda's very, very good at offering rear seat space. Over here I have my seat adjusted to where I'm sitting. I have about maybe 1.5 feet, maybe 3/4 of a foot of legroom over here for my knees, and a fair bit of headroom over here. I can easily slot my foot in, it's very comfortable. A big hump over here, which is structural probably. I get air conditioning vents. It's comfortable. I can even recline my seat if I want to. And armrest, standard stuff, cup holders, and in here you actually get 2 USB-A outputs, which is convenient if you have 2 at the back, but what if you need someone to sit in the middle? They have no access to USB. It's an SUV, right? So practicality should be pretty good. This car has 506 liters of space with all the seats up, which is pretty good. But the thing is, the CR-V gets you 600-ish liters of space. So the CR-V again beats it practicality-wise. Load floor is nice and flat, things easily slide in and out. And usually I would say you can't go wrong with any of the variants in the Mazda CX-5 range. But I would encourage you, if you're looking at the 2.0 mid, to spend the extra money to go for the 2.0 high, and I'll tell you why.
For an additional 17,000 ringgit, in my opinion, you get way more than that in equipment, such as power tailgate, paddle shifters, leather seats, power adjusted seats for driver and passenger, 3D surround view monitor, and iActiv Sense active safety with cruising and traffic support.
Sure, on the outside, it's not as stunning as it was when it first launched, but I think that's because we've been so conditioned by seeing so many on the road. It's a victim of its own popularity, you know? But I think if it didn't exist and it came out yesterday, this car would still look just as fresh as anything else launched this year, last year. And that is just a testament to how much Mazda got right with the CX-5. Remember, the CX-5 was the first car that actually, introduced this whole KODO design soul of motion thing. So I also heard that Mazda has kind of tweaked the suspension on this facelift. Personally, I haven't driven the pre-facelift version in a while, so I can't really comment on how much that has changed. Got to drive them back to back. Right now, though, I can't really say anything. It's as sharp, that mixture between being sharp and pliant at the same time, but also connected behind the wheel. That still exists. That still comes through loud and clear, those certain Mazda attributes. This car handles way better than it should, especially because it has a big lump of diesel engine at the nose there. You know what? And I don't really have a sport mode in here either. Not that I'm complaining, because it's so good at translating my tiny inputs, and giving me feedback. Are you okay with doing this? What happens if I enter that much steering angle, that much input? It's always giving you feedback. And it's amazing that happens at this level of a family SUV. So very few SUVs. Generally, SUVs are compromised. They don't really handle that well. They're kind of wallowy. They're off the ground too high. But something about Mazdas always tend to make me smile, even their SUVs. The CX-5 was one of those cars that just kind of rewrote the whole playbook when it comes to SUVs. They can be fun. They can be engaging to drive. And now we have this more evolved version of the CX-5, and no telling how long we have left with the CX-5, because the Mazda Corporation has introduced other generations of SUVs. So you have the CX-30 like you have now, right? But there's also the CX-60, the CX-70, the CX-90, and of course, the CX-50. Google that. So we have a lot to look forward to in terms of the future of Mazda SUVs. As far as this car goes, it is 7 years old already. It looks fantastic. Even though you have a big, lumpy, heavy pickup truck sounding diesel at the front, that this is actually the best compromise, the best sweet spot for the CX-5 range. First of all, the fuel economy, okay? I estimated, it came to me with a full tank, but estimated I've done so far about 200, a bit over 205 kilometers. And I've only consumed a quarter of the tank. At this point, it's very familiar to us, or at least it should be. It's the 2.2 SkyActiv D. So, turbo diesel, 4 cylinders. And it has 190 PS, or 188 horsepower, and 450 Newton meters of torque. And they tune it to be linear. You can reach really high speeds with this turbo diesel. And you know what? It doesn't sound bad either. When it really is pulling along, it does give off this kind of nice, aggressive hum. It's cool. I like it. If I had a 2.5T in this, I would kind of abuse it, because that engine is so much performance and so zingy in that Mazda way, paired to all-wheel drive. I wouldn't be getting great fuel consumption from that, because I'd be too tempted to always tekanlah. But in this, you just kind of let it settle down. It quietens down. Of course, this also is paired to the SkyActiv Drive 6-speed automatic. 6th gear comes in, so you're like cruising at 100, 6th gear, barely above 1,500 RPM. There's so much to like about this engine. The thing is, when you're going into not just highways, but you're just kind of dailying this car, that fuel economy means you can go much further on your single tank. And then, in city traffic, it's smooth, it's refined, it gets off the line really quickly. roll-on performance when you have to overtake that slow coach in the wrong lane. You can just do that. Why wouldn't you get the diesel? In fact, also Mazda, why don't you please put, or at least Mazda Malaysia lah, I know they do this in other countries like America, lucky guys, they get the 2.5 turbo petrol in the Mazda 3. That'll be what a great match that would be. And they also give it all-wheel drive, because why not? In Malaysia, there's only one single engine option, the 2.0 NA SkyActiv G. When, you know, if you just add your most powerful engine, the 2.5 turbo, into your most desirable hatchback, the Mazda 3, you get a super hatch. In this case here, the CX-5 with this diesel engine is a really rounded, well thought out package, because you have the fuel economy, you have the refinement of all the other engines, you have a really quick shifting and smooth transmission, you get fantastic fuel economy, you get a lot of torque to play with, you get really good usable performance. What is not to like? Is it as practical as the CR-V? No, I think Honda has got that sewn up. They've always been focusing on practicality, but those intangible things that makes us love Mazda is still here. And this doesn't matter what Honda tries to do with the CR-V, it doesn't have quite the spark of the Mazda. And just think how much that whole SUV-esque appeal would be if Mazda, when Mazda finally gives us the CX-50 and the CX, number +0 range, the CX-60, CX-70, CX-80, CX-90, and not just relegate that to the North American market. Yeah, a lot of things to look forward to.
When it comes down to it, I think the CX-5 range is more than strong enough to fend off the CR-V, but the choice is ultimately up to you. You can tell Honda is trying to make the CR-V more desirable on a subjective level, something straight out of the Mazda playbook.
However, Mazda's, in this case the CX-5, does have that intangible edge. It just feels like a more expensive product, and one, importantly, that prioritizes the driver for a change. It's something that's so rare in SUVs. But I still do think that this Mazda CX-5 2.2D is the sweet spot in the range. And I think because it is not as agile, not as nimble as the CX-3 or the CX-30, that it could have, it just justifies having a stouter, heavier engine. For a diesel, it's really smooth, the torque is relentless, quite refined, and the fuel economy is amazing. So what do you guys think of the Mazda CX-5? Are you choosing between this and the CR-V? Is it a hard decision? Let us know in the comments below, and as usual, please like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that.